Michaela Vernava for NESN.com here on Radio Row, and I'm joined now by NFL Network analyst Kurt Warner. Kurt, thanks for talking with us today.
You bet. Good to be here.
Well, now, yesterday we caught up with Adam Vinatieri in 14 years ago.
You're
I know.
You're going to start with that, aren't you? You're going to just
am.
lead right in with that.
Well, we talked with him about that kick, of course, in the Super Bowl for the Patriots win. Big moment for him. I know you were on the other side of things. What are the memories of that Super Bowl?
You know, a great game. I mean, it was the first Super Bowl ever that came down to a kick on the last play of the game to determine who won the Super Bowl. And I'm just so fortunate. You know, yes, I would have loved to have won that one and the last one I played in. But all three Super Bowls I played in were great games that were determined by great players making big plays at big moments. What are you going to do? I'm just fortunate that we were in a game like that, and you saw the two best teams play down to the wire, and it took a great kick by Adam to be able to put them, over the top and win the championship. So, for a long time, it hurt really bad. But now that I'm a little bit older and you gain more perspective, I'm just fortunate that I got a chance to play in that game. It was the start of Tom Brady's career, and to kind of intersect with two guys that have, similar stories from the fact that, an injury gave him an opportunity, and he was a 6th-round pick, and me being a free agent, and then to watch him ascend into one of the greatest quarterbacks that have ever played. Just a lot of great memories of that game. Unfortunately, not the final one that we all want to remember holding the trophy up, but love Adam, and he's a great player, and just happy for those guys, even though it came at our demise a little bit.
Well, speaking of Tom Brady, you bring him up. He was a big storyline this year because he is a guy who's getting up there in age, but did very well this season. What do you think we'll see out of him? How much longer do you think he has left to play?
Well, I hope it's as long as he wants to play. Whatever that means to him. I've heard him say at times he's going to play till he's 45. I don't know. But I always hope that great players get a chance to write their own script when it's all said and done. For me, I was very fortunate that I felt like I could have played at a high level for 3 or 4 more years, but just felt it was the right time. It was the right time for me to walk away physically. I feel great right now. It was the right time mentally, where the game had kind of taken on a different expectation. And, I was young enough that I could walk away and be dad and, be able to focus on my family at a critical age for my kids. So, that's my hope is, I don't know. You saw him play this year. He had another MVP type year, had his team in the AFC Championship game again. So I think he can play well for a while yet. But again, I just hope that he gets a chance to kind of write his own, hey, this is how I want to go out. Maybe that's winning a Super Bowl. Maybe that's playing, longer than anybody's ever played. I don't really know. But right now, I think he's on path to be able to write it however he wants to write it.
Well, is there something to be said about a player walking away from the game and maybe going out on top as opposed to crawling away from the game? Because there's been a lot of talk about Peyton Manning and what he should do after this Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think, as players, I think there's something important to that because we'll all, everybody can say what they want to say, but you always want to be remembered at the top of your game. You want people to remember, you playing at a level that nobody else played at. And sometimes that can get skewed if your last couple years aren't anywhere close to what you did the rest of your career. And so for me, the second to last game I ever played in, a playoff game, the last game at home in Arizona, was one of my greatest games. I had more touchdown passes than I had incompletions. And that was important to me. It was important to me to finish my career playing at a high level. So regardless of what you saw, whether you saw the beginning or you saw the end, you remembered me for the kind of player that I was. And I do think there's something important about that all players would love to have that be the case. Now, the hard part becomes, so when does that mean I walk away? When does that time come where I'm going to start, my game's going to start going down and I can't play at that level? And that's always the hard part. And we look at Peyton. We're talking 2 years ago. This guy threw 55 touchdowns and 5,500 yards, setting NFL records that have lasted for, I don't know, however long. So, it happened very quickly to where it seems like the physical part catches up to him. And I think that's the hard part, is trying to find that perfect balance of okay, when's Father Time going to catch up to me? When am I going to, not be the same guy? And I don't think we ever really know until we get there. So it's a fine balance.
Well, when you talk about how we remember players' legacies, there are so many factors that go into that, and guys like Peyton Manning right now with the HGH allegations, or Tom Brady with the Deflategate stuff, what do you think is the most important factor in the way we remember players?
Well, I mean, if you're talking to me personally, I think the most important factor is character. When it's all said and done, I want people talking about me, the person, as opposed to me, the player. And I want the player part to come secondary. So, yeah, I think all those things become really important is, a guy like Tom Brady who's been so great, and you still hear people saying, well, part of it's because of Spygate or deflate, because you're always going to have people that don't like you or don't like your team, and they're going to hang on to the negative. People are going to say the same. I hear New England fans saying, how come it's not as big a deal with HGH for Peyton as it was with Deflategate for Tom? So you're always going to have that. And I always, wanted the approach to be, I'm never even going to put myself anywhere close to that. So people will only remember the good person, and hopefully they'll only remember the good player. And I think, to me, at the end of the day, you can talk about me being a great player, but if there's issues about my character that people are talking about, then I've lost at the end of the day. And so to me, that's the first part of the legacy that's most important. And then, of course, the other part is, again, we want people to remember us at our best, and so how that works and what they remember, it's hard to say. So you try to string together as much greatness as you can, so there's less chance for them to remember you not playing well. But we're players and we're people. I think that's the most important thing, and people can say what they want. I want people to think of me as a strong character guy. I want people to think of me as a great player. That's how we all want it written at the end of the day, and we just hope along the way that we can do it well enough that they do.
Well, we're here in Super Bowl week where there is so much going on, and as you said earlier, you're fortunate enough, I say talented enough, to make it to the Super Bowl, and that's something that not all players get to experience. What would be your piece of advice to these players as they prepare for possibly the biggest game they'll ever play in their careers?
Well, it's a tough balance, and I was fortunate to play in 3 of these, so I was able to learn along the way. But it's a balance between enjoying the moment, because, as you said, you may never get back. And I remember my first Super Bowl is I was about to Thursday, and I'm like, can we just get this game over with? I mean, here I am in the biggest game of my life, and I'm like, can we just get this over with? I'm worn out, tired of doing interviews. I want to just play and get this thing done. And you don't want to go into your Super Bowl like that. So it's that fine balance of I want to prepare so I am the best that I can possibly be on Sunday. And I also want to take advantage of, I'm in the Super Bowl. I mean, I've dreamed of this forever. Let's enjoy the moment. And so it's a balancing act of trying to figure out how to do that, and especially as a quarterback, because you are pulled in so many different directions. You see these quarterbacks, they're always drug up on the podium. Another interview today, you got to go sit down with these people. And so there's a lot of things that you can make a burden. If you look at it a certain way, you're like, man, really, again, I got to talk, I got to answer these questions again. Or you can just kind of embrace it and go, okay, here it is. This is the Super Bowl. They're going to ask me the same questions. They're going to ask me every day. I just have to embrace it, and that becomes the key, is finding that balance of time to get away from football, time to prepare for football, and then time to do what is the Super Bowl and enjoy that moment.
Well, for us people who've never been in your position, we can only speculate and imagine the nerves that go on during this week. What exactly do they feel like, and is there any special tricks to manage that and stay focused?
I'm nervous before every game, and I think everybody out there watching have had moments where they're nervous, whether they're getting up to give a speech or going to an interview. So the nerves don't necessarily get worse, but they happen sooner, because the tough thing about Super Bowl is, A, it's unlike any other game because you're here all week long. B, every time you flip on the TV, they're talking about the game. They're telling you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do and if you're going to win and if you're not going to win. So it's really hard to get away from it. And so, the more you think about the game, the more the nerves start earlier in the week. And so it's really about managing those emotions and managing those nerves. And the biggest part is you got to try to get away. Everybody always says, make it as much like normal as possible. Well, that's nearly impossible. But the normal parts, like for me, having kids. I would go home at night, I'd have dinner with my family, I'd hang out with my kids, and it takes your mind off of football. And so it's finding those moments when your family gets in town. Let's go out to dinner. Let's go hang at the hotel. Let's go do something fun where you can get away from that, because that's the hardest part. You're not going to get away. You're still going to have nerves, and maybe they're a little bit worse than every other game. But it's managing those earlier, because you're thinking more and more about the game throughout the week.
Kurt Warner, awesome first-hand experience. I know you're going to be providing a lot of coverage throughout the week. Where can we see your stuff?
A lot of coverage. Well, I'm on the NFL Network, and I think we got the greatest pregame show on TV. Normally we do it for 4 hours. Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to be doing it for 8.5 hours starting.
How do you stay awake?
I don't know, and I don't know what we're talking about, but it just goes to show how big this game has become and the spectacle that it is. But we'll be on from 9 Eastern up until almost game time with the whole crew, Hall of Famers across the board. So tune in, whenever you want to get a little breakdown, chewing on your munchies or eating your nachos. We'll be on NFL Network from 9 Eastern all the way through game time.
Will you have any snacks, any munchies?
They better bring some munchies. I don't know if they'll bring me wings and nachos, though. Hopefully.
Hope so. Kurt, thanks for talking with us today.
You bet.